Here we go, guys, with part 4 of the Najdorf series here. Shout out to Forward Chess. Of course, you guys will have the in the description how to actually get this book, and it's 50% off through February. So we're looking at Najdorf 4 today. We're looking at actually an introduction into Bishop G5. The last time we looked at the English attack, just a little bit of it, very brief. We keep these videos very short. And we're going to go through some stuff here quickly so you guys can get through and understand kind of, hey, if they do this, this is what I can do. You can get up and running. But of course, the details, you're going to have to get this book for it, right? Of course, before we get started, make sure you guys sub to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Stats show that a lot of y'all haven't. So we got to sub. Thank you for that. All right, let's go. Bishop G5. So Bishop G5 introduction. This is what we're looking at, is how do we get there? So E4, C5, knight f3, D6. Regular Najdorf, D4. Takes all the same. Knight f6, knight c3, you go a6, and now they go bishop g5. So when bishop g5 happens, this is sharp. Let's see what it says. This is considered to be white's sharpest option against the Najdorf, and with good reason. Be very careful, right? So here, black plays e6, which this is the main move. And in fact, I don't care what Najdorf you play. It could be any variation. E6 is usually the starting variation. From here is black. You can actually go knight d7 next, or bishop e7, or queen c7, or b5. There's like all these different moves you can make. But okay, cool. This is the main move. It says in recent years there has been a lot of interest with knight b to d7, but that's another story. How are you reading this book online? Right here, Z Smith. In fact, they were Forward Chess is the application, and they allow us to actually look at a little bit of this book here. So we'll be doing some videos for you guys to drop, and also give you a link to actually use the percentage off the book, so you can get it for a cheaper price. Z Smith, your problem. No problem, bro. No problem. No problem. Thanks for watching. So, okay, so E6 happens. After this E6 move, obviously, guys, you need to read all of this. We're going to skip over this part because this is parts for you to read when you get the book. Now, here, this is, they're talking about from white's move is queen f3 is a move here for move number 7. This one you're going to see, and I'll briefly just show you guys what the move is, knight b to d7. And you're going to play here. You're going to play this position. We're not going to go too far. Castle queen side, queen c7, queen g3, b5. This is what you'll see. This is very common. This does happen, but I'll show you what you actually get more of. And the one we're going to look at is actually the f4 one. So queen f3 is here. It's going to go very deep into detail. In fact, I have to scroll a lot to get to where we're going, but f4. So we're going to look at the f4 one. Boom, f4. Okay, so this is a position. We get to the f4 version. And when the f4 happens, this one actually happens a lot. But this one, instead of knight b to d7, which is a move, bishop to e7. Lots to be talked about here. As you see, lots to be talked about. Definitely read all of this. Definitely read all of this. But one thing I did like to read is this right here. He says, I will admit that the poison pawn, right, instead of bishop e7, going queen b6, he's saying, the poison pawn variation, so that's queen b6, as we go back down here. Sorry, let's go to bishop e7. Where is that at? e6, f4, bishop e7, right? Okay, so bishop e7, this says about the queen b6, I admit that the poison pawn queen b6 may be the best. And when I read this, I was like, what? Bro, what? Queen b6 being the best? And I mean, in fact, Bobby Fischer used to play the poison pawn variation too, but with this queen b6, this poison pawn, after I saw, who was it? MVL start getting smacked. Bro, he was getting worked with the poison pawn. I was like, you know what? That's why you don't ever take that. Don't ever take that pawn. Because, I mean, he getting mollywopped when he takes this pawn. Like, so, like, I'm not ever taking this pawn. Like, I just discard the variation completely. But what he says is, you know, I admit poison pawn is best, but is rather impractical for most tournament players. There are numerous forced draws in the poison pawn. Also, you will get your head cracked 17 times. He didn't say that, actually, but I added that in there because that's exactly what happens. And he says, as well as, and while I am not terrified of that, there's so much theory, I find that there are a great number of irrational positions that requires tremendous calculating ability. It's very tough playing that queen b6 stuff. He's talking about h6, the Gelfand variation is knight b to d7, which is very similar in what he's recommending with the bishop to e7. Queen f3, which is the same kind of, you see the pawn, where was it before? The pawn was on behind on f2, so now it's on, the queen's on f3 and the pawn's on f4. This makes everything a little bit different, right? Because it's more aggressive. You got the pawns on f and e. They can both try to thrust in e and f5, and also g4. G4 is definitely coming in many cases as well, right? This is almost universally played, is what it says after the queen f3 move. Lots of theory to be read here. I've been scrolling through this. and black plays queen c7. This is a main line, and this is my recommendation. This is also a good move to consider is h6, he says. h6 is good. He recommends queen c7. He has some lines to cover, talks about where you got the line from. Very good for you to read. We're looking at the main portion. Castle queenside, knight b to d7. Here we go. Let's read. Let's first stop and look at the position. What's going on? Knights developed, bishop on e7, queen goes to c7. Plans for both sides is usually g4, h4, bishop e2, and trying to mate. Castle on opposite sides. Whoever gets to the king first is going to win. With black, we're playing b5, bishop b7, rook c8, b4, trying to mate him quickly, and usually tucking our king, castling, definitely castling. But we need to be very quick. Let's see what he says. This will be our main tibia in the bishop g5 system. If black is left to his own devices, he will play b5. Now, first things first. Let's talk about this real. It's good to know the plans and ideas of what we're doing. You can get to this position many times, but if you don't know what the plans are, you're going to be 100% premium. Get this man off the board. You're going to lose every single time if you don't know what to do. So here, this is like very important what he's talking about when he's putting this in plain text, right? This is a tibia. If black is left to his own devices, he's telling us the plan. We're going to play b5. So we're going to try to play pawn b5. Let me actually just make a move. We're going to try to play pawn b5 here, right? Followed by some combination of knight to c5, put the bishop on b7. He also says b4, right? Something else with massive pressure on the e4 pawn. All of our play will be on the queen side. The c file is wide open. That's where his king is. So you want to understand what you have. And sometimes the move orders definitely matter, especially playing sharp openings like a Najdorf. But it's good to understand what the plan is. And then, of course, we have to figure out the move orders later, and also reading this book. Of course, white is not going to sit still. The most common moves are bishop d3. Somebody else in the chat said that. And g4. All right. Before then, white has various options like f5 and queen g3 and bishop e2. Okay. So let's move through. F5 is interesting. I don't think we'll get a lot of F5s there. Maybe not. We're only going to pick one. That's F5. So let's go back actually one move. Sorry. Go back a move. Queen C7, F5. Let's see what we got. Queen G3. I have seen this one. Let's check out what Queen G3 is about. Queen G3. Why not E3? You talking about Queen E3, Xtronic? Like moving the queen to E3? What would Queen E3 do if you're actually talking about Queen E3? Queen E3 really doesn't do actually, anything. It's a move though. It kind of sits there, but what's the intention? Maybe you're trying to play F5 to go bishop H6 or something. Queen G3 actually lines up kind of where the king is, kind of like how our queen is. Right, so if we castle like right into that. Queen G3 is a logical move to make, which you might actually face something like this, like for real. Instead of castling, like most people would do, the move he recommends here is actually H6. H6, so to try to make this bishop do something now. If you castle, you might run into immediate damage to the king side. It says if bishop takes, then bishop takes. And then if bishop b2, now we castle. And now this bishop actually is a monster on this diagonal. This is good to understand. I've done this actually times myself, playing some Najdorf games and looking at some Najdorf theory, being able to have this bishop on this diagonal, kind of like in the Dragon or King's Indian. It's very nice for attacking chances. But instead, bishop h4, if bishop h4 is played, you're ready. Oh, here we go. This is a very common theme. Watch this move. You're ready. g5. And we live. This is where the sharpness of the Najdorf comes from. This is a nasty move. G5 is so sweet, bro. You think you would castle here, but the king's perfectly safe around the wall of pawns and the pieces. The Gelfand system is what they call this, with the knights on d7 and f6 and the bishop on e7. After g5, bishop straight up trap, so he has to take, right? After he takes, boom. What move do we play here, chat? What move do we play? In fact, it's on the left, so if you're reading, then yeah, it's on the left there. But black to move here. What do we do? Most common error, sub 2000, how to take advantage of them. Right, yeah, that's actually outside in any opening. In fact, you can play in that manner, Robert Crespo, but that's about looking to see what your opponent does every move, trying to respond to it. And also looking for checks, captures, and threats every move. Every move. So we have knight h5 from Everett Will and Jessica with an alternative rook to g8. In fact, both of them are 100% correct. That's right. Great job. Actually, both of these are moves, and it says some strong players prefer rook g8. One line that put me off this approach was he didn't like bishop e2. And after knight e5, very advanced move. Knight f3, I remember this theory. H takes g5, bishop takes knight h5. Knight h7 runs into bishop takes e7. Boy, this is nuts. Oh my goodness. What is going on right now? Bishop takes d6. This is ridiculous. Whoa. Whoa, hold on. Hold on. After f takes g5, this is why he says knight h5 is the move. Right? I mean, this is that theory was still going. And somehow black managed to draw there. And then queen e3 and queen c5. This is, I remember, this is high level Najdorf here. Queen c5 with the bishop attacking g5. This bishop is pinned, so bishop takes g5 is coming with some tempo too as well. With the king on the dark square. Let me look at this move. Queen c5 is such a star move. Pinning the knight as well. So you can't move the knight anywhere, right? Knight at 5 loses a piece. You move the knight, queen takes. I mean, it's a rapster. It's a wrap, right? What app is this? Forward chess right here. Here's the like the details right here. Najdorf. All right, so queen c5, it says this is necessary to regain the pawn, but the queen will lose some time. King to b1. Queen d2 is an alternative. We can check that one. You can check that one. I mean, h takes g5, and then bishop to f2. All right, so as we look at this position, the dust settles. White lines up his bishop against the black queen. Even though the pawn has been regained and black has the e5 square for his knight, white has chances to develop an initiative, as black's development is lagging and his king is still in the center. This balance of initiative versus structure is typical in the Najdorf. I recommend you read that like 100 times. That was like very, very good stuff. Okay, so after bishop f2, black plays b5. Very aggressive try. There's also a knight e5 there, and he's showing you a line that you could do. b5, though, is definitely Najdorfish. I'm definitely going with it. Awkwardness, thanks for the follow. Maurice Smashley, what's good? Queen to d2. Definitely with the discovery, as y'all see that. See the discovery now. Don't leave your queen there. So definitely queen moves out the way. Queen c7. h4. Here it is. There was also some piece sacrifice on bishop takes b5, showing you how dynamic the Najdorf gets. I mean, look at this line. It's insane. h4, like ridiculous. Some endgame. I'm not looking at all that. It's just nuts. It's absolutely nuts. That's for you to look at. But here, right, g4, we push past. So after h4, we go g4. None of that. You're not opening up anything. a3, as you see, the king still in the center, but it's totally safe. Moto, thanks for the follow. So a3 stops the b4 push that black usually does. We go bishop b7. Rook's coming to c8. Everything's held down right here in the center with the king, so we need to be careful pushing any pawns in the center. g3, and then black goes knight to e5. It says black has finally managed to cement his knight on the fine e5 square. The position is strategically very complicated. Pass h4 pawn for white looks very nice, but it's not going anywhere. Bishop e2, definitely develop. Knight f6, bring the knight back, hits e4. That's why the bishop's on b7, attacking e4. Queen to f4, and that's not a good move. This leaves the queen side looking vulnerable. Is it b4? b4 is the idea. And then after takes, you play a5, a4, a3. Did he play it? No, knight c4 was the move here. But I guess, let me just see. You can turn the engine on here to see what moves are. Rook b8, rook c8, and knight c4. And now it says knight c4 is the best now. Wow, amazing. That's cool. That's cool. Okay, so knight c4 threatens both e5, on e5, and knight takes a3. That's nasty. That's good stuff. Thanks for the follow, Zeus. Yes, that's good stuff. a3's hanging. On e5's there. Pretty rough. Pretty rough. Okay, knight c4, take on c4. Probably take with the queen, right? Yeah, queen takes. Queen e3. And now black finds a maneuver. Okay, so let's think about what he does. It looks quite exotic, but if you gain enough Sicilian experience, it may well... So it might be... Let me think about this. So he says now black finds a maneuver. So let's think about this, chat. I think the maneuver might be bishop d8, bishop a5. If he's talking about a maneuver, bishop d8, bishop a5 is one. Or maybe like a rook c8. I don't know, chat. What do you think? a maneuver here for Sicilian players too as well. I mean, even if you're not a Sicilian player, a maneuver here for black. He says it looks quite exotic, so it can be like something regular. It can't be something regular. So I don't know, maybe b4. I think b4 too though, but I'm really leaning exotic. I'm thinking about bishop d8, bishop a5. I'm not sure. Or rook c8. Rook h5 I looked at too, Badaka. I actually thought about rook h5, bro. And I think the intention is like rook c5, but the rook just looks good on h5, doesn't it? Doesn't it just like rook h5 and just like flex? Real hard flex. Like, look at the rook, bro. It's very nice on h5. But I also like this, but maybe it's too slow. I mean, maybe this. That's not exotic though. Like that's easy to do. I move the knight around. This one is exotic looking. This one exotic, and this one. Okay, so let's see what it was though. So queen e3, rook h5 for Daka. Wow. Rook h5, big fella. Rook h5, big fella. Doberman, thanks for the follow. Oh man, what about b4? Yeah, b4 is probably a move though. But rook h5, that's so exotic. Oh man, that's nuts. So my dude was good. Nice. Yeah, I see you all here. Productive. Swing it. Rook h5 and then rook h to f1 and rook c8. So we just put the rook here kind of to just be annoying. Bishop g1 and then rook e5. A lovely position. The pressure on the e4 pawn is too much, and black eventually prevail in this game here. You found correspondence game. Perfect. So this is good. We're going to stop here. Of course, you guys can definitely look at the rest of this. Make sure you have your Najdorf book. I'm going to plug it again in the Twitch chat here. And if you watch from YouTube, of course, you can get yours right here. Boom. So this is Najdorf 4. Look out for Najdorf number 5. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We'll see you on the next video.